Hi folks, it's Dave Schmidt here. Hey, it's the morning of January 4th, and I am here in the home of Dr. Alex. He actually goes by Sasha, so Sasha Lessin. Now I want to give you a little bit of an introduction to what's going to happen on the radio program this week, because Dr. Lessin is going to be my guest. But what we're going to do a pre-recorded live program. So where does all this start? Well, the vast majority of all of you that have been listening, you understand about what is called the currency exchanges. And I've been saying for over 2 years, where does all that money come from? And I've always been able to say that there's only one place on this planet that that kind of money exists, and it's the gold that is basically a part of the dragon family. But then you have to understand who is the dragon family. The ambassador himself has said more than one time, and I've stated this in my workshops, and I've even been started recently stating this in some of my weekly programs, is that the dragon family themselves are descendants, royal bloodline and DNA descendants of the Annunaki race. Is that the correct pronunciation before I even introduced you? The Annunaki race, okay? And they are part of that. So really what we see is this gold. And we see this in the historical evidence of all the archaeological records. It was the Anunnaki that came to Earth to mine this gold. And what they did, the family being part of their line, ended up in large possessions of that. And I'm sitting in here with Dr. Sasha Lessin. He has a PhD in anthropology out of UCLA. He is probably known as one of the foremost experts on the history of the Anunnaki that we have. He and his wife Janet, who you will be introduced to later in some of the radio programs, is that they have written 3 books together about the history of the Anunnaki. And I just finished reading your third one about a week ago, and all of a sudden it just made sense. It made sense. It developed the whole picture. It was like the whole circle of who we are as a human race, why we have been the way that we have been, why we see these what we would call this evil from this cabal of, the warring, the power, the control, the dominance, the power of money and the lust for money that so much of the human race has. We see that so much of that comes from the Anunnaki, and it's been passed on down to us. And in my trip here to Maui, I'm here actually in Dr. Lessin's home, a beautiful place here, is that we spent some time a few days ago, and we both thought it wasn't a coincidence that we spent about 6 hours together on January 1st, the first day of the year, because we both began to recognize we were the missing links to each other's story. And we both recognize now that we have the full story as we've been helping each other in this. So you're going to find that Dr. Lessin and his wife Janet are going to become more frequent guests on my radio program, and as this whole story begins to unfold. So Dr. Lessin, I want to tell you it is such a pleasure to be with you here. It is like when I came away from our time together on January 1st, which was on Friday, and today is Monday, it was just like that. The next 2 nights, I was just in awe, if that's all I could say. And I was kind of almost in an ecstasy, because I realized I finally got it. I was able to put the whole pieces of the puzzle together to fit the whole story. And you were feeling the same way, and we know that we're actually delighted here to be together. So folks, I want to introduce you to Dr. Sasha Lessin, and it's such a pleasure to be with you today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your history, and this video is just intended to be what is going to be an introduction to the radio program.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I wondered how Noah ever got those different animals on his boat, and I wound up studying with Zechariah Sitchin, who told us how come Noah, who was the son of the chief scientist of the ETs, the Anunnaki as they were called, I mean those who came from the skies, gave us 600,000 years ago. Nibiru was losing its atmosphere, a big hole in the atmosphere like we have. And their scientists said, get some gold, white powder of monoatomic gold, and we can float it up and preserve our atmosphere with it. And they started major mining operations and created, they adapted their genome to Earth with a few Bigfoot genes from Homo erectus. They made a slave race, that's us, and they kept improving it with the prettiest girls they could find each generation. And just before Noah's flood, most of the Anunnaki were going to leave the planet. And one of the scientists from the Federation, Galzu, came, and he basically told the Anunnaki who had been here, Enlil, who we know as Yahweh, and Enki and Nimrod, that they'd have to stay on Earth because they were aging way too fast and they would die if they came back to Nibiru. And so they preserved the sons of Enki through Noah, that was Ham, Shem, and Japheth, to rule through them. And at that point, they let the humans, us humans, know that they had found a cure for aging by eating the monoatomic gold and some monoatomic platinum too. And they used it to prolong their lives on Earth or elsewhere too. And their descendants who stayed on Earth and the mixed people that they bred have been eating this stuff and living very, very long. And they think they own all the gold. And they have used the possession or the thought of possession, who's got it, as a way of enslaving the entire population and manipulating their desperation for the basic goods of Earth by their control of the gold.
That is interesting. You see, what you've just said is basically a capitalization of the whole history of why we as the humans are who we are, and why things have come as they are, and where things have developed, and why we've gotten to be the way that we are. And he really outlines this very well in the 3 books that he and his wife Janet have put together. And you'll see on this video that I'll give you, the pictures of those books, and we'll get into more depth into the radio program. What we're going to do, you and I are going to have a back and forth conversation. But wow, I'm delighted to be here. I think that we have just started at knowing what it is of a story that we both have to tell, and to help people understand where all this has come from. And folks, for most of you that follow me, you wonder, what does this mean to the whole issue of the currency exchanges and all that kind of stuff? It's all on track. We just don't have the control of saying who, what, and where. But I can say that we're in touch with those who do.
Yeah, there were only about 1,000 Anunnaki at one point, and they realized they couldn't control the millions of Earthlings if they ever got together and realized they were being ruled from the top. So Nanar, who later became Allah, devised the system of credit among people to keep them enslaved, involved, and pitted against each other basically, so they wouldn't realize who was really running things.
It's in essence, it's been the whole root of the financial slavery system that we have lived under for thousands of years, and they have used the power of money to keep us in forms of slavery. As 1,000 Anunnaki could not rule millions of humans, but they could use the power of money to do it. That's what they've done. And as you come, for those of you who've been to my workshops, you understand where I talk about the power of money. Money dominates every aspect of our life. This will be developing for us in more future radio programs down the road. It'll be exciting for us to be together. Okay?
Cool.
Thank you very much, folks, and enjoy this introduction. Okay, love all of you.